Here's my script. Could you read
Okay,
it?
yeah, and move that
Let's
script over
edit
here.
this part
Yeah.
out, okay? Going 10-1.
Rain dance, Sundance, Con.
Let's do this. You guys ready?
Quiet
Thank you
on
so
set.
much for this award. Ready and action. Welcome to the very first episode of Mel Moment Mondays, a podcast for filmmakers, about filmmakers, made by, well, a filmmaker. I'm your host, Mel, and today we have an NYU Tisch grad, Winona Lu. Thank you so much for hopping on today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We just only recently met at like the film festival, like what was it, like a week ago?
Yeah,
Which is
2
kind of
weeks,
funny.
yeah.
Yeah, kind of funny.
I
But
know.
like what got you into filmmaking? I know we were doing like photography there for most of it. I know you were doing video, but what got you into filmmaking in the first place?
I think the first time that I learned people actually made movies and it didn't just appear on my screen, which is what I had always assumed as a kid. We were in year 7, so that's 7th grade. We were studying this film in English called Whale Rider, which is an I don't know if people in this hemisphere would have heard of it, but it's really beautiful. And that's when I first learned that there were like directors and cinematographers. Obviously, back then we focused mostly on the director because that was like the equivalent to studying like the author in English, um, the author of a text. And because I'd always loved films, I'd like grown up watching them. They were kind of like the steady constant, like the escape for a young kid who doesn't fit in. Um, Once I found out that people actually made them, I just like it became more and more attractive to me as I grew as a person, as my consciousness developed, as like my self-expression wanted to try different ways to express, I guess. And then I started like getting into making my own short films with friends. My school began to host like little short film competitions. We entered, we did well, we like kept it pushing, and then I decided to come to film school because in year 9, so that's I believe that's freshman year in America. Um, I just fully decided I wanted to be a director, um, which was the most well-known like role in film that I had at that time in my mind. I decided I wanted to be a director. I stuck with it, and I was like, if I'm going to do film, I want to go to the best school that there is possible for that. And in my mind, that was NYU. So I applied. I crossed my fingers. I applied to other like schools in um, Australia as well. I got into University of Melbourne for screenwriting, but I was still like wanting NYU. And then I got in on the second round of early decision, and yeah, and then it was just like a rush of excitement, and then COVID happened, and then I wasn't there for the first year, but that's how I got into NYU. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, right. Yeah, because you're younger than me. The COVID. Oh, do you think that impacted like your film school experience per se? Or did you not feel like it? Yeah, because it is the first year and there's a lot of like general studies that you probably had to do. Do you think that
um
or
yeah, I think that the main thing about going to a film school that's attractive to anyone who's considering it is the access to equipment. And because we were off campus, we didn't have that access. And the school, I think like professors, individual professors tried their best to like make it possible, like sharing resources, telling us how to get some access to things. But in general, there wasn't much support provided from the school in that regard. It was, I'm sure that you've heard or people have told you, but it was like full tuition for remote school, even though like full tuition usually includes like equipment maintenance costs and stuff, and that was still all included. And then some professors would not like necessarily my professors, but I know that a lot of professors were like making people still purchase their own equipment, which like they wouldn't have had to if they had access to the school. And then for me personally, I was doing the first semester in Australia, but at the same time as it was happening over Zoom in New York. So I was essentially nocturnal for the first semester of my freshman year, which was like fun to think back on now, but at the time it was definitely not
Oh,
great.
that sounds rough.
Yeah.
But once you did get back onto campus and COVID, they allowed you back. What type of stuff did you learn in film school? Was it very hands-on or was it kind of theory focused? And like what facilities did they offer you at NYU for those who haven't maybe, been to NYU or toured it?
Right. I think that NYU, besides your freshman year, which is like you have the prerequisite courses you have to take, once you get the prereqs out of the way, it really is so flexible. It depends on what you want to do and what you want to be. For myself, one of the first things that I wanted to do once restrictions opened up was to get onto sets. And so I got into, I worked with a lot of like, pardon me, older students, older crews. I was like ACing, gripping, and I was kind of working every weekend almost for that whole year. And so I quickly fell in love with kind of like camera work and lighting. And I felt like I was learning from like all the directors that I was watching as well and all the DPs that I was watching. And that's kind of how I started to figure out that I wanted to be a DP and a director, and not just a director, I should say. Um, but yeah, in terms of resources, I think that the editing labs are probably really great. You have pretty good high-speed computers. You have people who know how to help you troubleshoot them, and they're open pretty late. I think just the fact that you have a campus that's open to you pretty much like almost any time, unless no one's working there, means that you have like free Wi-Fi and a free bathroom in the city, which I think is like very rare these days. Um, so that's like something that people do, not necessarily like restricted to film school, but just a campus in general. But I think the biggest resources for me were always the people that I was working with and the teachers that I had, um, more so than equipment. The equipment is something that we appreciated only really like in, I would say, the end of junior and most of senior year, because that's, I think, where the difference between NYU's equipment that it provides to students is biggest with other schools. But when you're in like freshman, sophomore, early junior year, what you're getting is pretty much the same package that you would get anywhere else. Yeah.
What type of equipment did they offer the upperclassmen? Like just name some things that you could. Is it a rental thing? Do you have to pay or is it completely free to rent
Well,
it
you
out?
pay like it's part of tuition to pay equipment maintenance fee. But you get essentially like a pretty good package. They kind of upgrade it every year, and I worked at the school's production center in my last year and a half of school, but I also had friends who were working there their whole school career. You get like an Alexa Mini. You can request SR2, so that's 16 millimeter. Grad schools have their own thing, but you have like a good camera, decent lenses. I think they get the CP2s, which are like people have, they're not anyone's favorite lens by any means, but they're pretty decent lenses. Um, and then you get a good amount of stands, you get a good amount of sandbags, you get pretty decent lights they have. I mean, they're like the nan lights, which are just LED everything. And they're like not necessarily the best, but you get 1200 light, you get two 1200 lights, you get two 500 lights, and then you get little Forza like 60 lights as well. So you get a pretty good range, and you can kind of request more if needed, and it's like granted on case by case basis. Um, and you get a lot of support from the staff there. So like if you don't know how to do something, if you don't know something with the camera, you can like request a tech session. That's what I did when I started shooting um, thesis films, but I hadn't like completed the class that was necessary to have completed to shoot a thesis film yet. So, which I was like taking that semester. So I just applied to go for a one-on-one tech session. they like were very friendly, very helpful, um, helped me figure out a lot of things, and then I was able to like shoot things even though I hadn't fulfilled like the class requirement. Um, yeah, I guess there's that. They also have a bunch of sound equipment. This is just me coming from like a camera lighting perspective. I'm
Right.
just like naming all those. They have a 633 mixer. They have great boom poles, great mics, um, lav kits. They honestly, there's a lot of it's a pretty good equipment center. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Does that
Yeah,
answer
and
your
it's also
question?
yeah, it's great to hear that that the faculty is also willing to work with you because I know sometimes it's hard. It's like, oh, I need to rent this out, but I don't have the qualification. How do I do it? And depending on the person or the faculty, it can be a little difficult, but it's great to hear that they were so accommodating. Do you think there's anything that you think that it could have been better in film school? Do you think it lacked anything in terms of what they taught or subjects or you know?
I think just the matter with any school, like film, I think no matter what you study, you'll come out wishing you knew more, because it's such a big industry. And even if you know what you want to do going in, you're never going to like, I think that's just like the nature of someone who's in film, like an artist's nature or something. You're never going to feel completely satisfied and like at peace, I guess. Like I just in terms of like preparation, right? You can I think like what I have is that I left school trusting in myself and my abilities a lot more and the people that I had leaving school around me. But in terms of things that I wish I knew more, I wish I had time. I wish I had more credits to like take different classes. I wish I had taken something um, in like festival circuits or something because we have faculty who like were jurors or like programmers for massive festivals like Tribeca or Sundance or some or whatever, and a lot of producers who and like professors who know people who bring people in to like talk in their classes. I wish I had been able to take another directing class instead of like a camera class, but also loved taking the camera class. So it's like it's really just I think speaks to how many great classes there are at the school that you can't ever take all of them. Like I wish I'd taken niche um, history and criticism classes because it would have taught me something I didn't necessarily know or wouldn't have necessarily like found otherwise. Um, but yeah, I think just if there had been a class on like how to freelance, that would have been great. Um, like I think it's a school that like preps you very well as an artist, like finding your voice, but it doesn't necessarily prep you as an artist finding income,
Right. Exactly.
which like I think is different for everyone. But you know, I would love to know my way around tax forms.
Kind of going off of that, what part of what do you have to say about like networking and marketing now that you're out of school? What do you have any advice for that or something you wish they taught better around that? Of like how to just get jobs and find other creatives to work with.
I don't think networking is really something because it's really just like go to things and talk to people and you just have to figure out um what kind of person you want to be, right, when you're talking to these people. I think something I've learned from talking to professionals after school is that even if you want to, like for myself, I like to direct, I like to DP, and I like to produce. But depending on who you're talking to, you definitely should have like one thing, or at least like if you're gonna hyphenate yourself, do like DP producer or director producer. Don't like director DP because no one really is looking for that. But then this is something that I've been thinking a lot as well. It's just like the marketing aspect. I think, and maybe this is just based off of the circle of people that I know, but a lot of us didn't get into film to like market ourselves to the commercial world, you know, like we didn't want to, or at least I don't want to be a commercial director or like a commercial cinematographer or a commercial producer. I don't like what got me into this was creativity, imagination, connection with people, telling good stories, right? And like making art. And that's not something I feel like should or can fully exist in a marketing world. It's just the nature of capitalism that we do have to market ourselves to survive. So my tips, I guess, are well, I mean, it depends on what kind of person you are, but for myself, what I've been trying to do is just reminding myself of these things. That even though I hate everything, I hate, well, just like I strongly dislike having to market myself or brand myself. It does help you to figure out um, your own values, your vision, your voice, your perspective, which you should know regardless of what kind of artist, filmmaker you want to be. Um, and also like to keep people around you that keep you grounded and like remind you of like how you actually want to be and where you actually want to be and who you want to be, right? So,
Right.
because there are people out there who like are very happy in a commercial world. Like I know directors who are very happy to just, you know, there's like YouTube a day in the life with a Michelin star chef for like uh 12 hours with like this person or 73 customers. Like these are also filmmakers, these are also great people, great workers. But they're like very happy in that world, right? And so we're all doing different things. I think it's just like for myself to remind myself where I was, where I come from, where I wanted to be, who I wanted to be, and then just to like find different ways to get there, even if it is to like put myself in places I don't want to be now. It's just like having an end goal, I think, is important.
Right. I think that is really, it is really tough when you get out, when you're out of film school and you're trying to decide, really keeping to like, I guess like your film morals per se, instead of like, I feel like in this day and age, it's so much about content creation. And like you go to film
Yeah.
school for 4 years learning like the best craft of the best, in America. And, you come out and it's like, oh, I don't really want to make TikToks, even though that's what, most of the world wants you to be doing. So yeah, keeping grounded in what you actually want to do, I think is really important. Did
Mm-hmm.
NYU help you with any post-grad opportunities or help you get any jobs? Was there anything like that, or did they just give you the diploma and it's like, good luck?
Um, I mean, the school has like weekly email blasts. They have faculty members that are very committed to helping students. Um, and they have faculty members who have like lists of festivals that you could go to or like enter into. Their faculty members who send out like email blasts with like career and job opportunities, but they're mostly geared towards like students because they're on student sites. NYU gives you access to College Central and Handshake, which are like job posting websites. But obviously, the jobs that are on there are going to be more like student internships, like which are either unpaid or minimum wage, which as a graduate is not ideal. Um, and you know, but I think in terms of resources from the school, like I've kind of been saying, it is very people based. Like if you reach out to your professor and you have had like not even a good relationship, just a decent relationship, if you weren't like causing trouble in their class and you were showing up and you were like paying attention and you were respectful, then they will probably sit down and chat with you and help you out any way they can, you know? Um, call it networking, call it whatever you want. I think it's just like good to um like recognize that people want to help you and that and like if you have this like passion and drive to be a certain place and you're just like okay like trying to find your way like that will come through and people are attracted to that energy, they want to like help you, you know. um so yeah, people like always want to talk about their experiences. I'm obviously, like I said, I'm from Australia. I'm on OPT right now. So I've talked to a couple people that like managers and professors have recommended to me that have gone through a similar process. They've all been very willing to talk to me. I've reached out to like DPs and directors separate from school, but like they're like our school connections there. And they've also been very lovely and willing to talk to me um, about like their process, how they are finding things, and then like people are um, willing to share their resources, which I think is lovely. Um, yeah, I think the greatest resource anywhere will just be its people. Yeah.
For sure. And now the big question for you, do you think it was worth it to go to film school for you personally, or would you recommend it to others? What is your take on that?
Um, I don't think it's something I can, or at least in terms of NYU, it's like there are lots of problems with institutions, which I think is especially obvious um, in like current day um, for a lot of reasons. I think it for me was worth it because of the people that I met, like coming from Australia where there isn't much of a film industry, coming to New York where there is like a massive film industry and there's so many different people and everyone is like you grow up in a place where everyone just wants to um I don't know, go to the local two universities and study um jobs that like will keep them well fed and well kept but aren't necessarily like their passions. Um, and then you come to a place where everyone is chasing their passion, right? Which is just like that feeling, I don't think is um, a thing that can be like quantified or have a worth placed on it. But for me, it definitely was worth it to come here. My closest friends are people from school. My partner is someone I met in school. Um, and like I feel, despite maybe like some of the conflicts that I've talked about, like I feel very honored and um, grateful and just lucky to have had that experience because it isn't super accessible to a lot of people. And so I think it's like, for me, it was worth it. For other people, I think that those schools like have that access and have the people. I know a lot of people also, like one of the DPs that I talked to recently did not go to film school, went to school for acting, figured out that they like to work in camera and then just kind of like fought their way in and they're doing very well for themselves, very well established. Like I know there are so many people who like get into it in different ways. I think if film school or like school in general isn't something you want to do or is feasible for you to do, then it isn't like the end of the world. I think it's like what you have inside and like the people that you have around you. Like if you have the passion and if you have the drive, which I think sounds a bit like a corny song lyric, but then you will like get there, you know? Or at least we
Right.
have to believe that if we have these things, then we will get there because besides self-conviction, we have uh very little. So yeah.
Oh, I think that's very well said. I think it all honestly depends on the person and what they can and cannot do for themselves and whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So we're gonna play like it's just one question, but the film Would You
Mhm.
Rather kind of catered to your subject of
Okay.
today. Yours is would you rather make a blockbuster film or a successful independent?
I mean, at this stage in my life, I would definitely prefer to make a successful independent. Um, because like I'm assuming I haven't in the hypothetical made anything else. I'm a horrible person to ask a hypothetical to because I will like talk it out. But I'm assuming in this situation that I haven't made a feature before. I don't think I would want my first feature to be a blockbuster. I think I would like to be an indie director who like maybe dabbles. I think my dream is to like the biggest movie that I would want to make is a movie musical. I don't think I would want to do
Oh,
like a superhero,
okay, like
although
a
that could be really
musical,
cool.
like La La
Let me
Land,
not like
kind
yeah,
of.
that could be cool. I mean, yes, I was thinking more like a Mamma Mia.
Oh, Mamma Mia
Um,
too. Mm.
yeah, yeah. But I don't know. I don't think that uh like what do you consider a blockbuster, you know? I think movies can be big. I mean, I guess you're like an action movie or a superhero movie or something. Um, I could do that maybe, but I don't think I would choose that over the other option.
Stick with the indie.
Yeah, I love the indie world. I don't want to deal with like studio execs at this point. For a
Mm.
first feature, hypothetically, would not want to deal with studio execs and stuff like that.
That's fair. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd probably pick indie too. Yeah, I love
right?
the indie world.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
fun.
yeah. I'm poor blockbuster. No one wants her.
All right. And then the
Yeah.
final question that I've been asking everyone is what advice would you tell your younger self if they were first starting off in the film industry?
I mean, I am my younger self starting off in the film industry right now, you know? I wouldn't thrust my 15-year-old self into this world at all. Like I wouldn't do that. But maybe if I was to like go back to myself wondering if I should pursue film, which I honestly never questioned that much. I don't know if that's because I'm stubborn or if I just knew, but especially now when I've studied it and I feel like I've committed my life to it, at least for the foreseeable future, I can't imagine doing anything else. Um, I think I would probably just say to my like 15-year-old self, that I should just trust myself. I should take risks because even if what I'm afraid of will happens, I'll figure it out. And that um, even though I'm leaving home behind to do it, I'll find a new home with good people around me.
That's awesome. That's so
Yeah.
wholesome.
Okay. All right. Mm. Well, you gotta be nice to maybe myself as an angsty teenager would not have been receptive to wholesomeness. But I think maturity is realizing that we all want to be happy, you know.
That is so true. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. How can people
Yeah, thank
find
you for having
you?
me.
Yeah, how can people find you on like social media to follow your
Yeah,
cinematography and stuff?
my journey. Um, I am on Instagram and I have a website. I have a LinkedIn, but do not contact me on LinkedIn. I I am never on that. I think come find me on Instagram, I guess, WINONA.LU. And that will have like links to my website and everything. But
Awesome.
yeah,
I'll put that in the description below. Thank you again for hopping on. And it's just it's so fun to like connect with multiple filmmakers and really hear kind of their story and their take on these topics. So just thank you so
yeah.
much.
No, thank you for having me. I'm incredibly honored. Can't wait for it to come out.
If you enjoyed this podcast and want to learn more about my experience as an up and coming filmmaker or catch up on more episodes, follow me on Instagram at MELYDE12. This podcast is also available on Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Please like, subscribe, and spread the word. Thank you guys again, and that's a wrap.